Hello there everyone. In this tutorial, I want to show you how to create an EC2 instance using both methods. The first is through the AWS Management Console, and the other one is through the AWS Command Line Interface or CLI. I'll start with the first one. So this task is from Code Cloud Engineer, and it's asking us to create an EC2 instance with the following requirements. This should be the name of the instance. We can use an Amazon Linux AMI to launch this instance. We will see how in a second. The instance type should be t2.micro. We need to create a new key pair, type RSA, and the name is Nautilus KP. And we need to attach the default security group to this EC2 instance. First thing is we go to the console. Now we copy the username and the password and we paste them here. We go to EC2, or we can search for it in the search bar, or we can go to the services, compute, and here we have it. We click on launch instance, and the name of the instance should be this one here. The image should be Amazon Linux, and the Amazon machine image, we can keep the one here because it's not actually specified. Since we can use any image, let's keep this image which is already chosen. You can choose any for the sake of this task. This description is related to this image. If you choose this one, you will see a change. And this is the ID of the Amazon machine image. So T2 micro is the one we need to choose, which is already chosen. Key pair, we are asked to create a new one. This should be the name. RSA is the type. So let's create a new key pair, paste the name, and the type is RSA. Okay, and we choose it. It's already chosen. The security group should be the default one, which is actually not a recommended thing to do. It's recommended you create specific security groups to your EC2 instances or other resources. But for the sake of this task, it's just an exercise, so we will be using the default one. So we select existing security group and we click on the default one to select it. That's pretty it. Let's launch the instance, and it's successfully launched. We can go to see the instance here, or we can go back to EC2 and click on instances. You can click on the checkbox here, take a look at the characteristics and properties here of your instance, details about it, its status, security. The security group is the default one, and here are the inbound and the outbound rules. You can also click here to have a complete page of the details and other characteristics for the EC2 instance. So that's pretty it. Let's go back. EC2 instance is running. Let's check. Great. Okay, so this part of the video is the next part in which I'll show you how to create an EC2 instance from the AWS CLI. And to do so, we will be using the documentation in order to use the appropriate commands and syntax. We need to create an EC2 instance, and the command to do this is this one, which will launch an EC2 instance, AWS EC2 run instances. We need the image ID. I'll show you how you list the images and copy the IDs to insert it into the command. The count is not necessary if you're just launching one instance, but in case more, you should indicate the number of instances you're going to launch. So if it's 2, 3, 4, you should indicate it here. Instance type is T2 micro, which is actually the same as the requirement in the task. Another thing is the key pair, which we should create as we did previously in the console. It's an RSA key pair, just a different name than the previous exercise because it's a new session. And the security group is the default one, which we need to indicate it by its ID, but actually because it's the default security group which we are required to attach to the EC2 in this exercise, we do not need to indicate it. It will automatically associate the created EC2 instance with the default security group. First thing, we need to choose the image. So let's take a look. We can use Amazon Linux, AMI. So to list the images, we type in AWS EC2 describe images, which will list the images from the owners of those images. And we only want one source, which is from Amazon, those images from Amazon. And because it's AMI, we need to grab the images with the IDs that begin with AMI. So it's AMI dash, the rest is a string of characters. Let's take a look. So now we guarantee we can choose one image ID. Now the next thing is the instance type. We already have it. We can copy this and paste it into this command when we input it into the CLI. The key pair we need to create. Now I made a whole video on how to create and manage key pairs in AWS. You can watch it via the link up there. So to create an RSA key pair, you go to the documentation, AWS EC2, create key pair, you copy and paste it here. Key name, which is required to be Xfusion KP. And the key type required is RSA. And it's created. Now we need to attach the default security group, which is not necessary. It will automatically be attached to the EC2 instance as we explained. So let's go ahead and launch the instance, AWS EC2 run instances, and the image ID, which we will copy paste. Let's choose a random image, say this one. The instance type is T2 micro, the same one as here. So we'll keep it as it is from the documentation example. And the key pair from the key name. So we use the key name we created here, which is this one, not the ID, unlike the image. And that's pretty it. Okay, so this image doesn't work. Let's try another one. Let's grab another ID. Say this one, give it a try. Still, let's try another one. Let's say this one. Okay, and the instance is created. So it's created from the image ID, this one, which we indicated here. This is the instance ID of the EC2 instance we just created. The instance type is T2 micro. Key name is the Xfusion KP. And the security group is the default one, which starts SG dash, the rest of the characters here. And what's left is the name, and the name we will have to do it by tagging the EC2 instance. So to do this, from the documentation, we go to add a tag to your instance, and to create a tag we use this command, AWS EC2 create tags -- resources, and the ID of the instance or the resource, which is here the EC2 instance we need to create a tag for. The EC2 instance ID is the one we just talked about. The instance ID here, copy pasted, just need space here. Okay. And then we take the following -- tags. The key is the name. We need to indicate a name, and the value is the name we wanna give to this EC2 instance, and it's Xfusion EC2. Okay. So now if we list this instance, let's see how. List your instances. You can list all instances. In this case, it's just one instance, so it's enough to do this. But I'll show you, if you have a few other instances, how to indicate which instance you want. So let's say we want to list the instance through its name. So the tag is name and the value is Xfusion EC2. Let's type it in and we close quotations. Here we have the only instance we need. So the name, we want to make sure that the name is correct also. It's the last thing we have, and here we have it. The tags, the name is Xfusion EC2. So that's pretty it. We can check, but before I want to show you that it's the same, you can see all these properties and details about the instance in the console. So let's go to the console, take the username and the password. Go to EC2, click on instances, and here you have the EC2 instance we just created in the CLI. So this is the name, which we created by the tag, which is the command here. So this is the instance ID, which is given to us when we launch the instance. The instance is in a running state. Instance type is T2 micro, which is one of the requirements here. What else we indicated? The security group is the default one. This is the name of the security group. Key name is the key pair we created and associated it with the EC2 instance. It's Xfusion KP, which we created using the following command. You can take a look at the details, or you can click on it to have the larger view. You can see the image here, and this is the key pair. If you want to make sure it's of type RSA, take a look at its details. You can see the type RSA. So that's all, folks. Let's check.